Hi guys, welcome again to another edition of Straight Talk with Obert Gutu on YouTube. Today we are going to talk about state-owned enterprises, or what can also be termed as parastatals. State-owned enterprises are a common feature in, I would say, I think in every country there are state-owned enterprises or parastatals, government-owned enterprises. And I think it's actually a common feature in the sense that I don't think there's any country in this world that doesn't have SOEs or state-owned enterprises. But then of late it has been a topical subject of debate in the subject of corporate governance or good corporate governance to say what really should be the role of state-owned enterprises, or put differently, do we really need state-owned enterprises? Because there are people who passionately argue that it is not the business of government to do business. So there are people who actually adopt a very hardline neoliberal view, who says that everything and anything to do with business should not be anything to do with government. In other words, government will leave entirely all aspects of commercial activity or business activity to private enterprise or to the private sector or to private players. I'll give an example of my own country, Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, we've got 107 state-owned enterprises. That's 107 state-owned enterprises. And it is also, I think, beyond debate that the majority of these state-owned enterprises are poorly managed. They are perennially loss-making, and they are indeed a huge drain on the national fiscus, because once and again, the majority of these state-owned enterprises do require a government bailout in order for them to remain in existence. So there are people who then argue to say, why then should we keep on using taxpayers' money to bail out perennially loss-making state-owned enterprises? Why don't we maybe privatize them, or alternatively even just unbundle them and do away with them? And I think the issue now is on both the management and also the operational framework of these state-owned enterprises. In our own experience here in Zimbabwe, we have a situation where, of course, most of these state-owned enterprises are what I prefer to call, they are overmanaged and underled, in the sense that most of the management team or management structure or managerial organogram is top-heavy. You have a lot of people occupying so-called managerial positions, but who dismally fail to commercially lead these state-owned enterprises in a way that will make them profitable, or at the very least break even, so that they don't continue to incur losses, which losses are apparently then financed by the taxpayer through perennial government bailouts. So I think the idea really is to have a situation where we consider that there are some strategic areas where you might then say you cannot completely privatize certain enterprises. Let's talk issues like, a typical developing country like Zimbabwe, energy production. Let's talk of issues like even the railway system. We have in this country what we call the NRZ, the National Railways of Zimbabwe. And I understand, I've been talking to some people who are saying, okay, why don't we just completely unbundle the National Railways of Zimbabwe, which is a public company, by the way, which is actually a parastatal or a state-owned enterprise, and come up with a wholly privately owned and privately funded national railway system. I don't know how you viewers, what you think about that, but there are people who actually say, look, our experience is that most state-owned enterprises are corruptly managed, poorly managed. The thrust to make them viable, the vibe to make them viable is simply not there, because most of the people who are given the task or the tasks to run these state-owned enterprises are not really people with any track record as turnaround specialists or as change managers in any organization. And people also talk of political patronage, that maybe most of these managers are just people who are appointed just because they are politically well connected, not necessarily on the basis of merit. So I think this is a subject that we really have to debate and dispassionately and try to unpack it, to say, like in Zimbabwe, for instance, do we really need 107 state-owned enterprises in a country of about plus or minus 16 million people, which by any standards would be deemed to be a small country? Is that not too huge a number to have 107 state-owned enterprises in a small country like Zimbabwe, for instance? So look, my own view is that there is need, obviously, to rationalize state-owned enterprises, to make sure that where they have to exist, that they are properly managed. The management is up to scratch, and that they're also properly staffed with the right technocratic skills, people with the right skills set to be able to manage those state-owned enterprises profitably. Was the idea of just maybe getting a political body or political bodies from one place and just to sort of soft land them and give them nice managerial jobs at these state-owned enterprises? That really should be a thing. I think that really should be a thing of the past if we're serious about rebooting the economy of Zimbabwe. And I think this should apply maybe to basically every other country on the African continent and in other regions of the developing world, in South America, Southeast Asia, the South Pacific, etc., etc. So folks, that's what you have for today. Let's think about that and say, okay, state-owned enterprises, what really should they do? What role should they play in the socio-economic turnaround and development of our various countries? So folks, I will leave the topic at this stage for now. My name is Obert Gutu. I am the founder and senior partner of Gutu and Chikowero Attorneys at Law. That's a law firm headquartered here in Harare, Zimbabwe, and Southern Africa. I'm also the former Deputy Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs in the Republic of Zimbabwe. You may want to follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @GutuObert. On LinkedIn, Obert Gutu. On Instagram, Obert Gutu. Well, folks, there we have it. Have a good day. Work hard for yourself. Work hard for your families. Work hard for your countries. Work hard for humanity. Salam. Shirio. Asante sana.